There's a difference between the United States of America and the United States. It's two separate corporations. The United States of America was a de jure republic incorporated in 1787. You got the United States, which was incorporated just after the Civil War. All right. And the United States is a fascist corporate military democracy.
What is a sovereign citizen?
Well, it's either you're an economic slave or you're sovereign to the government. You either are an economic slave or you're not. I mean, you got to. It's where you want your allegiance to be. See, if you're a U.S. citizen, the U.S. is actually a federal corporation. If you look up United States Code Title 28, Section 3002, subsection 15A, it says the United States is a corporation. And you being a citizen of it makes you an employee of that corporation, believe it or not. So you don't want to be that. It makes you a slave within the system. It's like being a slave to McDonald's. You know, it's not where you want to be. So you want to be separate and a sovereign from that.
All right. So this is one I want to get to because I think it all kind of derives from the sovereign citizen thing. When did you first hear about what a sovereign citizen was and that the United States was a corporation? That, you know, when did you hear about all this and how did that happen? Like, how did you get into that? Because you skated over that.
Well, let's see. I knew back when I was selling hot dogs, a cop had given me a book called Non-Dare Call a Conspiracy by Gary Allen, because I had cops that were my customers at selling hot dogs. And I read it was incredible. It's a thin book, but the information in it was incredible. And it said basically one of the things that it doesn't matter who you vote for, Democrat or Republican, because they're both groomed by the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission. So it doesn't matter who it is. It's a one-party system. And it's really from there, from I think I was 22, 23, that I started to really see the world differently than I used to. I only voted once, and that's for Ronald Reagan. I didn't vote for anybody else after that. It's all a TV movie, you know, it's all a show. It's a movie. So, but to answer your question, it wasn't until, let's see, when was it? I learned about the straw man thing about 2004. That's when I really started learning about the sovereignty stuff. And the straw man is basically your name in capital letters sounds like you, but it's not you. It's a corporate fiction that they created at birth. You are a vessel on the sea of commerce, and basically your house is a ship in dry dock. Sounds crazy, I know, but a corporation court cannot bring another individual into court. They can only bring another corporation officially. So they make you a corporate fiction, and you are dead to the court. Your name, capital letters, is a vessel. It's not you. Your name, you the living man, or lowercase.
Okay, so this is the idea that like your social security number and your birth certificate and everything is all in capital letters.
Driver's license,
when your passport, everything the government issues is in capital letters, because that somehow means that they're designating you as a corporation or a corporate entity.
Correct.
Okay.
And then, as I think I showed you when we were both in prison, is that they take your court case and, you know, they add CUSIP numbers to it, just like your birth certificate. You are traded. Your birth certificate is a stock certificate that they trade. And like in court, when you first go to prison, get arrested, you want to bond out. So they give you a bond, and they add to that in appearance bonds, your appearance bonds and things. And they add to that what's called a bid bond, performance bond, and payment bond. They pull all these bonds together, they securitize them, and they sell them as asset-backed securities on the stock market, which are later connected to REITs, which are real estate investment trusts, mutual funds, government construction loans, things like that. So
I wanted to let you guys know that I have a Patreon account. If you're interested in joining the Patreon account, it's got 3 tiers. The top tier, you actually get a different con man painting every single month. If you're already joined and you're already supporting me, I really appreciate that. If you haven't joined yet and you're interested in joining, I'm going to leave the contact information for Patreon in the description. Thank you very much for watching the video.
I found my CUSIP numbers, my major CUSIP number and my minor CUSIP numbers. Basically, Fidelity is trading my major CUSIP number. And what they do is, when you first are brought into court, they ask you, which way do you plead? So there's honor and dishonor. If you're going to stay in honor, you got to say guilty. But you got to be guilty of the facts, but not the crime. See, all crimes are commercial under 27 CFR 72.11. All crimes are commercial. Well, if they're commercial, that means they're civil. Then what are we doing in a criminal court? So when you say you're not guilty, you're actually saying, I'm not going to pay for the thing that I broke. Let's say because you broke a statute and code. Statutes and codes are not laws. They are actually copyrighted opinions. So a statute is a bond. And these bonds, what they do is they have a bank that bids on these not guilty pleas. So you have the bank bidding on your plea. Then you have an insurance company underwriting the performance of that. So they give them a performance bond. It's crazy, dude. I mean, what they're doing is just so much fraud because it's not in your discovery what they're doing. None of this was in your discovery.
No. So, okay. Well, okay, you explain that. Let's go back to, so now you said that was, you did the thing with the checks, and then the Secret Service had shown up. And then you had gone back to that. You were back around 20.
Well, they didn't show up. They didn't show up. They just made a phone call.
Well, they didn't show up because you weren't there. Trust me. I know not to be there when they show up. But they showed up somewhere. So at some point, I'm pretty sure they went to there and somebody stopped by and said, "Look."
Now, the reason I went to federal prison, is that what you want to get to now?
I mean, I think the buildup to wondering how did that happen? Like, how old were you?
Oh, 52. Roughly.
Yeah, that was old. I mean, I'm saying when you were in your 30s, when you had initially started doing these things, like you started initially down this path of being a sovereign citizen. And like the thing with the judge, the one time where you made.
Well, no, in my 30s was 1990 to 2000. So I wasn't doing it in my 30s. I was doing it in my 40s. In 2004 is when I was 44, roughly. So that's when it started. And when you really kind of realize things aren't as they seem. Things are different than what you think they are.
Right.
So,
I mean, as far as the government, as far as them, the concept of that they're borrowing money.
There's a difference between the United States of America and the United States. It's 2 separate corporations. The United States of America was a de jure republic incorporated in 1787. You got the United States, which was incorporated just after the Civil War. All right. And the United States is a fascist corporate military democracy, which is the worst form of government before you have total tyranny, which is what you're seeing now. They want to set up a totalitarian state. So you don't want to be a U.S. citizen. You want to go back to the de jure republic, and that's what you want to be as a sovereign. You want to go back to the de jure republic of the United States of America. Now, when they have on your indictment, it says United States of America versus Matthew Cox, right? That United States of America is owned by Payne Weber, which is now UBS. But it's a corporation used within the court system. My court, I found out, was on Dun and Bradstreet. So that means they have constituencies. They have a board of directors that want a profit. It's a company.
Okay,
It's such a fucking scam, man. It's incredible. It has nothing to do with federal anything. It's like the Federal Reserve Bank. It's not a bank. It has no reserves. It's not federal. It's a private corporation.
Right.
And the Titanic didn't sink, and that's a whole different thing. That's a whole different show.
I saw the movie.
Yeah, but they switched it. They switched it with the Olympic. The Olympic was another boat.
Yeah.
And that boat had already had accidents and everything. And J.P. Morgan had invited John, what's his name? John Zucker Guggenheim, Benjamin Guggenheim, and all these people were against the Federal Reserve. Right?
Okay.
So he invited him on this initial trip of the so-called Titanic. But they switched it at the last from the Olympic to the Titanic. They switched the names, and everything that needed to go on the Titanic was not the Titanic, it was the Olympic, because he upped the insurance of it. And if you look in your computer right now, go to Google, look at who owned the White Star Line, who created the Titanic. And it was J.P. Morgan. He's a slick motherfucker, boy.
All right. So
he needed to get rid of his enemies. This was 1912. And guess what happened in 1913? Federal Reserve Bank goes right through, not a problem.
those bastards.
And they did it during Christmas time. Nobody was there.